For almost 2 million years, we humans lived as hunter-gatherers. If you look at the human evolution, that is more than 90% of our history. During that entire period, we were insignificant animals. We had no impact on the environment around us, and we lived in the constant fear of being hunted down by predators. Back then, we lived at the mercy of nature. But today we have learned to manipulate and control the nature to utilize it for farming, producing energy and building sophisticated technology. In the last 1 lakh years, with the rise of homo sapiens, we have jumped from the bottom to the top of the food chain. We are no longer the hunted, we have become the hunters. Despite all this, when it comes to the physical and mental strength and overall well-being, we humans are far less superior than our hunter-gatherer ancestors. What explains this, and is there a way to regain at least some of that physical and mental strength? Let's find out. Hi guys, myself Pratik and you're watching Eclectic. Here we talk about our past, present and the future. And today let's combine our past and present to prepare ourselves for a better future. When I say our ancestors, I am referring to hunter-gatherers, not the farmers that came into existence just approximately 12,000 years ago. 2.5 million years ago, humans first evolved in East Africa from an earlier genus of apes called Australopithecus. 2 million years ago, Homo erectus lived in Africa and Eurasia. 2 lakh years ago, Homo sapiens first evolved in East Africa. And just 12,000 years ago, we started farming and gave rise to the agricultural revolution. For this entire period, we were hunter-gatherers. We Homo sapiens have spent 7 to 9 times our ancestry as hunter-gatherers rather than farmers. And that hunter-gatherer lifestyle has profoundly impacted our genes, the way we do certain things and enjoy certain activities. When you consider the entire human evolution, agricultural revolution is a very recent phenomenon to which historians like Harari and Jared Diamond call the biggest fraud and the biggest mistake of our history. But why do they do so? You see, recent archaeological studies have found that the adoption of agriculture was in many ways a catastrophe from which we have never recovered. Agriculture led us to poorer nutrition, greater social inequality and the diseases. These are the things that cause our existence to this very day. For example, widespread diseases and epidemics were non-existent before the agricultural revolution. All these diseases sprang up when we started cramming large populations into cities. In a way, when we became farmers, we traded quality for quantity. Since the agricultural revolution, the overall human experience of an ordinary person has been deteriorating continuously. When I say deteriorating human experience, I am in no way questioning the technological progress that we have made. I am talking about the food we eat, lives we live and the work we do for living, and a very delicate balance between all that. The technological progress that we are so proud of gave rise to many problems, from poor nutrition and environmental problems to lack of happiness. And now time has come to take a step back and look at the life from the eyes of hunter-gatherers. Roughly 1 lakh years ago, hunter-gatherer bands of sapiens roamed throughout the forest in search of food. They ate termites, picked berries, dug for wood, stalked rabbits and hunted bison. For breakfast, they ate berries and mushrooms. For lunch, they had fruits, snails and turtle. And for dinner, rabbit steak and wild onions. They got their nutrients from a variety of food sources. After we became farmers, that variety in diets simply vanished. After the agricultural revolution, our farmer ancestors became dependent on a very limited and unbalanced diet. They cultivated very few crops, and so most of the calories feeding an agricultural population came from high carbonated crops such as wheat, potatoes and rice. These crops lack some of the essential vitamins, minerals and other nutrients we need. Centuries after centuries, we have carried that same diet forward. Even today, with all our advanced technologies, more than 90% of the calories that feed humanity come from the handful of plants that our ancestors domesticated between 9500 and 3500 BCE. Wheat, rice, corn, potatoes, millet and barley. No noteworthy plants or animals have been domesticated in the last 2000 years. Our cuisine still resembles the cuisine of ancient farmers, which lacks variety and nutrition. If you look at the modern day hunter-gatherer societies that still exist today, like the Akta people of Philippines, Bushmans of Kalahari Desert, the Hadzabe of Tanzania, you would notice that their diet is way better than most of us. For example, Hadzabe people of Tanzania eat amazingly variety of almost 600 plants and animal species. They eat about 100 grams of fiber each day, 10 times more than the average American. The Bushmans of Kalahari Desert eat 75 or more wild plants and consume 100 grams of protein every day. That is amazing. Even I, with my traditional Indian diet, somehow managed to get 40 to 50 grams of protein each day through my daily diet. So the hunter-gatherers had variety in their diet, and we do not. But what can we do? I cannot ask you to go and live like hunter-gatherers for adding the variety and nutrition in your diet. But I can give you the modern-day alternative for that, the rainbow diet. I first came to know about this diet while I was reading a book called Ikigai. I would describe this book as a compilation of very thought-provoking self-improvement ideas that can help us in leading a fulfilled life. This book describes the lifestyle of the people living on Okinawa Island, the way they live and the diet they follow. There are 5 blue zones in the world where people live the longest and are healthiest, and Okinawa is one of those blue zones. So what makes their diet so special that Okinawan people live for 100 years and still stay healthy? Here is what I found in this book. Okinawan people eat a wide variety of foods, especially vegetables. They eat 206 different foods including spices on a regular basis, and on average 18 different foods each day. They consume at least 7 types of fruits and vegetables daily. This kind of diet is way more nutritious than the diet we follow in our ever-growing fast food culture. The easiest way to check if there is enough variety on your table is to make sure you are eating the rainbow. Your plate must contain foods of 7 different colors: orange carrot, green spinach, white curd, etc. Now that the variety is addressed, let us talk about the quality, which is also deteriorating continuously. Back then, everything grew naturally, but since the agricultural revolution, we have started to manipulate the way plants grow and the way domesticated animals get nutrition. If animals live in a natural habitat, they stay healthy and their meat stays nutritious. Nowadays, in slaughterhouses, animals are being treated inhumanely. They are crammed inside small chambers and are constantly injected with chemicals and fed with antibiotics. All of this interferes with their natural growth, makes them ill, and the quality and nutrition of their meat goes down significantly. And guess what? Then some companies claim that they let animals live and grow naturally and charge their customers a shitload of money. That is ironic. We are being asked to pay more to let animals and vegetables grow naturally. If you go to any supermarket, you would notice that organic food is the most expensive. We can counter this by having a small backyard vegetable garden. Apart from economic benefits like getting fresh vegetables and fruits at affordable cost, gardening provides a number of health benefits such as reducing stress, giving you a mental and physical exercise, and providing fresh air. In Okinawa, the most common habit among people is that they get up in the morning and just walk through their small vegetable garden. I want to confess something. Sometimes I feel my life revolves around in circle. After uploading each video, I am back to where I was. I have to start thinking about my next project, and if I don't come up with good ideas, I feel very low. I am very careful about the topics I choose for making videos. I collect information from dozens of books and online resources, and only after carefully organizing that information into a concise script, I start making the video. This process takes time, and that is why my upload frequency is very low. I take somewhere between 15 to 20 days for making one video. Other YouTubers from my category upload 1, 2 or sometimes 3 videos a week. I wonder how they do it. Even I want to be able to upload at least one video a week. So all of this pressure of coming up with good ideas and the pressure of uploading more videos frequently makes me feel anxious. And to detach myself from that anxiety, I recently started cultivating a garden. After uploading each video, I immerse myself into gardening, and guess what? At the end of the day, when my mind feels relaxed, I do come up with some really good ideas. This is the place where I am cultivating my own garden. This place is a mess right now, but I am gonna fix everything as soon as possible. For help, I went to my little sis who is pursuing a degree in agriculture. Hey Manisha, would you help me set up a small garden here? I am planning to plant some vegetables and fruits.
No, I can't. Sorry, my exams are coming.
Okay, no problem. I guess I will have to do it all by myself. So here is what I decided. After uploading each video, I'll take a day off to work on my garden here. Every once in a while, it is important to detach yourself from the work. It loosens up your mind and gives your brain necessary time to make connections. And creativity is all about connecting things and recognizing patterns. At the beginning of the agricultural revolution, almost everyone was a farmer, and people may have enjoyed the agricultural activities for a brief period. They enjoyed making new tools and inventing new irrigation techniques. But as soon as we started producing more than we could eat, the entire thing derailed. The food surplus we produced led to the creation of entirely new social class. A class that lived at the expense of others. A class which was not involved in the agriculture but still hoarded most of the society's wealth. The elite class, which further led to the creation of cities, kings and their beloved kingdoms. And we all know how that all turned out. Even today, most people seem to be obsessed about the fact that in the 21st century, the richest 1% owns most of the wealth. People think that only the richest 1% truly get to live a happy life. But this perspective is flawed for a lot of reasons. Only if we stop thinking about the wealth as the primary indicator of our overall well-being, the picture becomes clearer. In hunter-gatherer societies, a class division based on wealth did not exist at all. Now I want you guys to pause this video for a moment and take a good look around you. Look at the things you own and tell me how many of those things have you created yourself. Any paintings, handicrafts, anything. I bet more than 90% of the things that are around you must be purchased items from the retail stores or online shopping sites.
Things you own end up owning you.
We have become so obsessed with luxurious and branded things that we have forgotten the joy of creation. Being materialistic isn't new to humans. We have always been a materialistic species. So what has changed? We have stopped creating our material, our tools, our worldly possessions. Even our hunter-gatherer ancestors were materialistic, but their materialism had a touch of their own creativity. They created their own stuff. They made cave paintings and built things for free. We humans could have never survived this harsh world without creativity. For hunting we created tools, for eating we created utensils. In every human activity there is creation involved. So what happens when people stop being creative, do repetitive office jobs and keep buying the stuff they don't need? They become dissatisfied in their life and fall into depression because they are going against evolution. Now the only way to reclaim that forgotten joy of living is to become creatively active in your life. Do not assess your life based on the material possessions you have bought. Instead, assess your life based on the new skills you learn and productive things you do. This is the jar I always keep on my table. On it, I have written that this is my property. After uploading each video, I write the name of that video on a paper, fold it like this and put that paper into this jar. On each folded paper, you will find the name of the video I have created. I have created 80 videos so far, so you will find 80 folded papers in here. I keep this jar on my table to remind myself that these videos are my actual property, not the stuff I buy. The more videos I make, the more prosperous I feel. Ask yourself, what is it that you can create? Handicrafts, pottery, painting, writing, whatever suits you, but create something. It does not have to be perfect, it just has to be shaped by your own hands, your own creation. We humans are meant to co-create this world with God. Oh, I guess I went too far. I have a habit of philosophizing things every now and then. Anyway, now let's combine this ancient trait of creativity with the modern psychology. In his book Flow, The Psychology of Optimal Experience, the author Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi states that we tend to enjoy the activities in which we are personally involved. For example, if you join a gym and want to enjoy exercising, then buying a new pair of shoes and track pants is not a solution. Buying these things will not make exercising enjoyable. But if you invest yourself in the process by slowly improving your exercising techniques day by day, you will start enjoying it. You just have to keep challenging yourself and pay attention to how you improve with each passing day. So that's what I mean when I said get involved personally. Don't depend on external things to make you happy. Sometimes I sit down to reflect on my progress as a content creator and ask myself, how can I improve my content without buying new stuff, without any fancy equipment, just by using the currently available resources. Even my softbox here is handmade. Let me show it to you. I created it using cardboard and aluminum foil. I don't have a professional lighting setup as of now. Now that we have arrived at the content creation, something which I do for a living, let's talk about the work-life balance. The early hunter-gatherers, like their present-day descendants living in the inhospitable deserts of Africa and Australia, spent only 3 to 5 hours each day on what we could call working, providing for food, shelter, clothing and tools. They spent rest of the day in conversation, resting or dancing. At the opposite extreme were the farmers, who spent all day doing back-breaking work and got less nutritious diet in return. As the world progressed forward and saw the rise of larger social frameworks like kingdoms, farmers lost their right to property and became peasants. 200 years ago, peasants became industrial workers of the 19th century, who were often forced to spend 12 hours a day, 6 days a week, toiling in grim factories or dangerous mines. In the book Sapiens, author Yuval Harari sheds light on the fact that the hunter-gatherer lifestyle was far better than the farmer's lifestyle we have adopted since the agricultural revolution. Even our modern normal 9 to 5 day jobs are equivalent of living a life like farmers, where we specialize in a certain field like engineering and work for a larger organization that produces more overall in the country for the greater well-being of society. Oh, hold on for a second. I'm not being judgmental here. A lot of people hate their jobs, but what can we do? A man's got to do what a man's got to do to feed his family. That's just how it is. You need money to survive. We cannot argue with the big corporations to reduce working hours. That's not in our control. However, we can do something about how we spend our leisure time. Most of the people these days just start scrolling through their social media feeds and watch TV or news as soon as they come home from work. They think that's the best way to relax their mind. But unfortunately, these things make them even more anxious, outraged, and frustrated. If you truly want to feel relaxed, do something creative in your free time. I already have explained how important creativity is for your mental well-being, but forgot to mention one important aspect. Don't try to monetize it. Nowadays, people tend to commercialize everything they do. For example, if some person prepares delicious recipes and enjoys cooking, he does cooking in his free time to feel relaxed or to clear his mind. If that person prepares a meal for his friends, what do his friends say to him? After enjoying his mouth-watering recipes, his friends advise that person to open a restaurant to make some money. If someone loves baking cakes and is good at it, people advise that person to open a bakery to make some money out of it. This has become our standard reaction to everything these days. We cannot even praise someone without mentioning money. Hunter-gatherers never got paid for the cave paintings or the artifacts they created. They created that stuff during their leisure time for free, just to spend their time in a better and creative way. Look, throughout your day, if you are doing every activity just to earn money, then I feel sorry for you. There must be something you do which is not for sale. Do it for yourself. Be sure that there is at least some part of you that is off limits to the marketplace. I hate to admit this, but I feel this particular documentary you just watched is poorly written, or maybe it is well written but poorly compiled. I feel I could not systematically compile all the information I gathered for making this video in one concise script. At least that's what I feel. I started writing on this topic, and while researching I got overwhelmed with the large amounts of information. I read many books, all of which are mentioned in the description down below. At the end, I did my best to compile all that information in one good script. My self-criticism tells me I failed. I want to know what you guys feel. Tell me what you guys feel about this documentary and the things we discussed in it. That's enough for today. Stay tuned for more such content and see you in the next video.